Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Reconcile the podcast. My name is Wachera.
My name is Natalie.
And today we have a very, very amazing guest who we've wanted to have on the podcast for such a long time. Yeah. Maybe I'd let her introduce herself because as I recover.
Yeah.
All right. My good name is Murugi Ndung'u. You can call me Clenis. If you want to be my friend, you can call me Dr. Murugi. Ooh. And I'm glad to be here. It's been a long time coming.
Wait.
It has.
Doctor.
We are speaking things that are not. Actually, it's the Lord who speaks things that are not as if they are. I'm in spirit with him like that.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Wow.
PhD, doctor, I'm like med.
PhD.
Oh,
wow.
I'm a medical student. That's why I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Anyway, before we begin, let's begin. Before we get into now the flesh and everything, let's begin with like a few icebreaker questions. Yes. The first one is, if you could witness any event in biblical history, which one would you choose and why?
Is it me or everyone?
You.
You.
Okay.
We'll answer,
Do you want
but
to go first and then I go?
Okay. I think the birth of Jesus. I don't know why.
Maybe time Elijah. Mm-hmm. It's either like something dramatic.
Yes.
Fire coming down from heaven. Mm-hmm. So your time Elijah, or probably like with the Israelites in their journey. That's where I'd be. Just the drama. Because it feels like such a it feels so crazy to imagine that such things would happen. Yeah, so that. Would you?
I would have said Moses with the parting of the Red Sea.
Yeah.
I saw the AI depiction of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind was Jehoshaphat when he was fighting in 2 Chronicles 20. Because I've gone to that verse so many times. I would like to see it. David, the whole of David's life, man. I would have liked to be in his inner circle and see him.
Yeah.
When he's writing the Psalms, the moods he's in. Because I think he's one of the most vulnerable men in the Bible, Habakkuk when he was, many people. So Jehoshaphat.
Cool.
Okay, number 2. Would you rather have unlimited free time but never have enough money to travel, or have enough money to travel anywhere but never have time to do it?
Ati?
You have money. Would you rather have unlimited time and not enough money to travel, or have enough money to travel but never enough time to actually travel?
Enough money to travel.
But you wouldn't travel.
Because that means I have enough money. Like I have, the first one was you don't have money.
You don't have money? Yes.
Let me have I have the money.
You don't have money, but you have unlimited time.
Money.
Money?
Is there room to make money when you don't have money?
It's just that you don't have
stuck
money.
at like $20 forever.
You don't, but you have unlimited time.
And what's the limit on time with the other one?
So you don't have any free time, but you have money to travel.
But you have money. Enough.
But you have money to shop. You have time
what if
to
you
shop.
have all the money, but you're stuck in the office?
No. For me, I'm not going to be stuck in the office.
And you'd rather have the money.
All right. Yeah. I think I'd have time.
Really?
Because there's so many things you can do that don't need money.
Like?
I don't like. I was very honest. I don't know, hiking. I think the Lord enables you. It depends on the Lord enables you to make the best of the very. You see how Paul says, and that's such a in Philippians when Paul says, "I know how to
preacher."
That's a painful verse. I experienced it when I was broke, and the Spirit was like, "You remember what Paul said?" I was like, "No, I don't want to remember." But I think it's possible. If I have enough to just make do, I'm pretty sure I can make it. I don't know. Maybe that's. I learned that simplicity is a gift, and
I need to learn that.
Yeah, at me, it seems I also need to learn because money is what I choose.
Yeah.
And
it's okay. You can also do incredible things with money.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as it's not now obsessive.
Yeah.
You're allowing it to control you.
Yeah. What is one song that puts you in a good mood?
One song that puts me in a good mood. You know, I don't listen to a lot of music. So what's one? The first one that has come to mind is Ile. I have a very big God. Like that's such a vibey nini. So I'd say that one. Or okay. It's the same.
Sema tu juu you.
That sound like such a broken record. Uhimidiwe na utukuke. Like I love those songs so much.
It's by Adonage. Yeah. There's a band called Adonage. I think for me at Uhimidiwe, now that you've mentioned it, Uhimidiwe as well.
For me, anything by Nathaniel Bassey. There's one called Fountain of Mercy. Been jamming to it. Yahweh Sabaoth. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather be able to speak every language fluently or be able to play every music instrument perfectly?
Because I said I don't. I'd rather have the money and not travel. Let me play the instruments. Yeah, instruments.
For you as well? Really? Okay. For me as well, instruments. Okay.
But if you're traveling...
But not, I said
you don't have I
don't have the time to travel. So let me
let me
have the money and let me play the instruments
perfectly.
Okay.
Jamani. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we can now get right
into the conversation. So wait. Before I have a question. Why do you call yourself Murugi Firebrand?
Murugi Firebrand. It sounds nice. And then also I think that's what I am. Before I changed to Murugi Firebrand, I was on Instagram when I was in that era, in the previous era before Christ, I was Magnificent Beast. And it was because all I did, like my body was let's just say I was heavy in the world. You know, I was radical. I was strong on that side of activism. I was a drag king. I was performing. So basically I was bold in the world. So when the Lord called me to this other side, it makes sense that the boldness remained, but now the spirit is different. Wow. So what's a bold person in this world, in the spirit world? Yeah. It's a firebrand. Also, it just sounds nice, you know.
Yeah, it does sound nice.
Yeah. Okay. So we'd like to know, and I'm sure our audience would like to know, who is Murugi? Do you have any siblings? How did you grow up? Your background?
My background. I have one sibling, one sister, and one half brother. So I have two siblings. I'm the last born. I grew up in Nyahururu. We moved a few times, and then now we've actually moved one time to Tok. But my mom was a teacher, so she moved a lot, and we moved with her. I grew up very well, stable family. I don't remember any specific thing happening that could have people ask me did anything happen when you were a child? You know, that you ended up being a lesbian? You know? I'm like, no, I don't remember. I had a solid childhood. I went to boarding school because I cried. I wanted to go to boarding school in class 4. I regretted it the next day. But yeah, I had a solid childhood. My education was solid. But somehow, when I think back now, I see where the enemy could have come in and opened a door. Not even just for homosexuality. I've not figured out why are you gay for homosexuality. But I know for porn and masturbation and weed, that there's definitely a door that was open somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So maybe before we ask the next question, what came first so that we know, should we get into... Because so one thing about Murugi, for those who might not know, is that she shares her testimony loudly about being ex-LGBTQ and coming to Christ, and she's helping people come out of it also.
Trying to help people.
Trying to help people. Yeah. So what came first?
I think it's the same-sex attraction, because I like to think, for as long as I can remember, you know how people are asked, were you born this way? I would have said yes, because I remember as kitambo, lower primary, you know, and then after that, weed came in 2019, but porn came around, say, upper primary. So it was homosexuality, porn, weed.
Okay, so maybe we can get into that. So maybe you can share your journey on, because I think the conversation is more identity based.
Yeah,
I think so.
Identity,
so maybe you can share how you got into homosexuality. I hope, by the way, disclaimer, guys, there's usually a certain language when it comes to...
Can I talk about that?
Oh, please.
Why people have such a hard time.
I don't want to say anything wrong.
Yeah.
Or maybe you
Natalie
can
did her research,
free
by
us.
the way. She really did.
Because I want to be as sensitive as possible.
Yeah.
But anyway, kuna kwanga na such a...
I know. So there's a fun little thing called jamming.
Jamming.
So there's there's a gay agenda, right? There's a gay agenda. Yeah. I didn't believe there was one. Yes.
As in, Tabo explain.
To gayify the world.
Oh, okay.
I know. I didn't believe it
Gayify.
either, even when I was in the world, because when I was an activist in the queer community, I was just like, these guys are suffering, and it's your fault we are suffering because of homophobia and everything. So even that was the basis of my research, right? Now I come to this side, and I'm looking at research. There's a book called After the Ball by Kirk and Madsen. It reads like prophecy. How they say they were both basically going to help the Americas overcome their hatreds towards the gay.
Wow.
And it was written in the 1990s.
Wow.
Brilliant guys. And you can even look at the strategy they have is these guys were thinking through it, So the first step is basically flooding. So when they were writing this book, there was a lot of the HIV was booming. The gays and the HIV are like this, at least at that time. So the Americans were not very cool with the gay. So the idea was to flood the media, but not in a way that makes the gay people look nice. So if you're going to have a gay character on the show, he's going to be the flamboyant, the charismatic one, the good one,
energetic,
the beautiful one, the one who always has the solutions.
Yes.
You just change the narrative like that.
Wait, and this is in the book in the 1990s?
Yes.
Whoa.
And if you can watch a Netflix show right now,
it
has it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot of flooding. And they say in the book, the success of this, whatever, is dependent on flooding of the media.
Wow.
The media is going to be the tool that carries all. That's why TikTok right now is blowing up like that.
Yeah.
That's why you're feeling afraid.
Yeah.
That's why in schools, a certain school in Kenya, you have to say your pronouns, Because now after flooding, we come to something called jamming. Roughly, that's the order. So jamming is where anyone who doesn't speak for this group, now everyone has been flooded with these positive emotions. Anyone who speaks against it is negatively labeled. That's why you're worried you're going to be called a homophobe, transphobe, all these negative labels. So because people are afraid of that, of being ostracized by community, because everyone slowly has been washed with this gay positive vibe, there's a guy called Vodi Bukham. He's written a book. You know Vodi?
The pastor,
Yes. He's written a book about how it's not like being black, because people are trying to equate homosexuality to like being black. That's why there's a black thing on the gay pride flag. So many things. Okay. So he said that pastors, when they're preaching this, the sermon dies 1,000 deaths because they have to apologize. Oh, we know, guys, that you are suffering. I know the queer community is having it rough. But it's a sin. So before they get to the place where they say the truth of the word, they've apologized a million times. All that is jamming. They're afraid of being negatively labeled. After jamming now, what happens? Now, after that stage, anyone who's okay with it now becomes an ally. That's why people are moving towards this side, because nobody wants to stand and say, guys, this thing is going wrong, right? But then at the same time, you also have to notice that there are people who are not gay because of the social contagion, because there's all TikTok and girls want to experiment and have girlfriends and everything. The people who've been feeling like that since they were born, they feel like I don't know anything else. So even as much as we're talking about the gay agenda and all this jamming, I see why you want to be sensitive to that group of people that might be oppressed, right? But in general, we have to be aware that the enemy is roaming around like a lion, and if the Lord has given us boldness, you have to Lord, it is you and your covering and your angels you've commanded. Help me be a good steward, but also help me be bold.
We are ready I'm ready to learn.
Now let's go deep. No, I just wanna.
I'm so ready to learn. Okay, so you can talk to us about your journey.
Okay. It's very long. I'll try to be as brief as I can. So, like I said, I started feeling same-sex attracted for as long as I can remember. As early as I can remember, in primary school, I had crushes on girls.
How old are you at this point?
when I was in class 7. I remember class 7. I remember class 5 maybe. I remember also class 7 very vividly. Class 8. Then from around form 3, form 4 is when now it went to the next level, because now this time it was reciprocated. Like evidently and like very boldly reciprocated. And it was actually then who showed that attention to me. So they'd leave sticky notes under my pillow, and they were very bold about their affections. And I remember feeling so conflicted, because on one hand, I'm Christian. I'm about to finish KCSE, to finish school. KCSE is coming. I don't want to fail.
You have to pray.
I have to pray, right? At the same time, I'm entertaining this girl who's saying all these crazy things, So I was like, God, don't let me fail. Please, please, please. There's a pastor, I don't know if you know Reverend Tom. All right. I don't know.
Is he Kenyan?
Yeah, he's Kenyan.
Oh, no.
He came to my school for a weekend challenge, and I went to him. I was like, please pray for me. I'm struggling with this, and he prayed. I remember it very vividly, because I was crying. There was like tears everywhere. And then I go to my room, to my cube, and there's a sticky note under my pillow. Do you think I was mad? No, you see, so I felt like such a hypocrite. Like, you're asking God to take it, but then you're enjoying it on this other hand, Kidogo, I didn't fail my exams. I get into uni. We stayed together for a while. And then now I discover the real world, I come across them on YouTube. I feel so seen, because I'm like, you mean there are people who feel like this, like me? All these YouTubers and content creators. I found a lot of identity in them, a lot of even solace in not being the only, because you can't tell your mom, but hey mom, I'm feeling like this. I don't know what to do. My girlfriend has broken my heart. So those guys were my community. I discovered a Kenyan queer community. I wanted to be part of it. I remember going to the first time I saw such a huge community of Kenyan queer people was when I went to watch Rafiki. You guys watch Rafiki?
I watched it.
I haven't watched it, but I remember the craze around, especially when I think the government banned it.
So dramatic.
Actually, now I watched it after they banned it, because I was like, why? I want to see what.
What was the reaction?
I honestly enjoyed, and at that time I was not like born again. So okay, this is not a long story, but at that time I was not born again, and so as you said, because I was afraid of not being termed as an ally. Whenever people would ask me, what do you think about Abdi? Like, as in they can have their moment. So that was my reaction to it. Like, it's okay. Like, let them love each other. Cinema penzi too, which I don't know.
And
now.
I think it was also, now for me, I didn't watch it, but okay, neither did I support it, but because it was a film, and a Kenyan film that was either nominated in Cannes, I can't remember where, Cannes. Like it was such a big deal, and then the government refuses. So it's a bit, okay, I wasn't conflicted, but I got wind of it because it was a film, and I'm into film manenos.
So I went for the screening. It was offered for free by a queer organization. I was very excited, man. I went, that was the first time I saw so many gay people in my life. I went home just skipping, I was so happy. I didn't say hi to anyone from Murugi who has social issues, but I felt so at peace in my heart, and I knew that, there are people out here like me. Kidogo, I'd find myself now at the center of it, not like the center, but like somehow, because eventually the movie was in 27, I don't know, when it came out. Then a few years later, 2022 now, I will be part of a team that was organizing Pride events in Kenya. I was a drag king. I was just inside.
What now?
2018 film.
2018, right? So 2022, that was 4 years later. 4 years later, I will find myself now in the middle of that organization. It was very nice. It was like a coming of age thing to me, slowly to from seeing these guys on the outside and one-on-one with them, being with them, having sleepovers in their places. Man, I was very happy that I was making that progress, and also because I really needed to do that for my research and my career. I wanted to do this research work. I remember in first year, very vividly, in first year, how you have common units, and it's one lecturer. I don't know which school you guys have gone to, but there's one lecturer who combine and 200, 300 students. So he didn't come to the class, and it was, I think, critical thinking, and he was like, you guys did not show up. No, he's the one who didn't come up. So instead, he gave us an assignment or a punishment to write a 10-page essay. I don't know, font 10, single-lined. That's just a lot of words about a topic. Murugi wrote about homosexuality.
Wow.
And I had enough content. I was like arguing why it's okay. All the research has been done. The twin studies, the finger theory, how this finger are the same length. That's how you're gay. I know. Don't worry.
Wow.
Don't worry. So I did all of that. I didn't know that later I would now come to do that, like for real, for my career, for my dissertation, and that I'd win an award for it. Wow. It'd be so good. I'd work in a queer organization in the same. So yeah, it was slowly coming from like Murugi being very, very excited about this thing to these things being excited about Murugi.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Yeah. So 2022, I'm at the center. I'm at the heart of it. I'm having a good old time. Then towards the end, we have a falling out now with this group that I've grown very close to, and it's a big falling out. Now in hindsight, looking back, I think it's the Lord who just tenganished us, because there's no way I would have left the queer community. One of the things people say, Murugi, they reach out to me like, Murugi, the Lord is calling me out of this community. But I can't even imagine leaving my girlfriend. What about my community? What about the friends I have? Because if you leave, you're going and you're going to be alone, my G. Are you ready for that kind of loneliness? And so Mimi, I'm grateful that the Lord did the work for me. It was painful, but he really separated me from them. And then at the same time, now he's when he started working in me, giving me an urge to fast, a strong urge to fast. I hack into the urge, and then he starts to show me. It's like, and all these things happen towards the time my mom is dying and after she's died, And one time I was fasting, because now he taught me to fast, Missouri, and I was fasting and things were moving, and I'm like, why didn't you teach me to fast earlier?
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you maybe... you said he taught you how to fast.
Yeah.
How did you know he was teaching you? Or maybe did Jesus come to you and then hold your hand? Or somebody who might not understand.
Yeah.
Sorry, by the time you're in high school, you're born again.
Yes. Well,
so okay. Yeah. So even when you're going through, you're meeting this queer community, you're still born again.
Yes.
Okay,
yes. I know God.
Okay. Ebu first answer that
and
one.
Wait, so when did you get born again?
Man, I can't even remember. I for real now, after I came out, last year, October,
even
Baduko,
before.
I can't remember, because how when a weekend challenge in Akuja imeshika, anyone wants to give their life to Christ.
Yeah.
Murugi,
Okay. Anyway.
So, but I know even when I was a kid, in my growing up, I was going to church a lot. So I knew my God. So you want to ask about being a gay Christian or?
No, I want to what was that transition from, you're born again, but you're not really born again, versus now you're here, God is teaching you how to fast.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, how is he teaching you how to fast?
How the Bible says that train your child in the way they should go, and then when they're older. I think my mom did the training, and I like the verse because it says when they are older, which means they're going. The Lord is giving them room to just mess around, and then when they're older, they sober up. So, how he was doing it is, I think, first I started feeling an urge to do a Daniel fast. And I'm like, what? Who's that? So I look it up on YouTube, and I see a few guys, I see their testimonies, I download. I didn't do it immediately, but I downloaded it. So, I'm like, okay, God, you see I'm doing something about it. So I download the videos, kidogo, I'm watching them. Around this time, my mom is in bed the whole time. So I'm in bed with her. I'm watching them. I'm like, oh, wow. These people are doing what? And God is doing what? That sounds cool. Then eventually I'm like, okay. Then she passes on. And then I think a week later or so, I do it. I start it. And I do until day 9. And in those 9 days, I didn't smoke weed. Going towards that, I was addicted to it, because weed was what was helping me when I was caregiving for my mom. It really helped me. I think I'd have gone mad. And I think even then it is God who was using weed. All these things are his,
Yes.
So for those 9 days, I don't smoke weed. And I'm like, I don't know if I was praying, but I know I was eating right. And I was doing so. The results I see on my body, I'm like, whoa, wait, my skin is glowing. My brain fog is gone. I feel light. I feel nice on my feet. And then that evening, the Lord opens a very big door, because I was trying. I had left my job now, where I was working with the queer organization, and I'm trying now to get my program into the schools in Loitoktok, because education there is just a whole other story. And that day I got a call, and this lady's like, oh yeah, Murugi, I normally go to these schools, and I know her. And she's like, your dad has given me your number. She's told me you've done good psychology. You want to come and, And I'm like, wait, God, I had these testimonies on YouTube.
Yeah.
And now it's happening to me after just 9 days.
Yeah.
Of course, I broke the fast. That's it. That's it. And I smoked my blunt, but I was like, whoa, you mean God actually does this thing? Yeah. And there's also a lot of peace in that time. But then at the same time, I was doing a lot of tarot reading. Tarot, yeah. I was probably addicted to tarot. So 1st of January, now that was December when I did that. When I did that fast. And I think also at the same time, he led me to write an apology letter to those guys who I had a big falling out with. And it was such a crazy falling out, man. So when he was telling me to write an apology letter, I was fighting him. I was ready to just go to war, because like, what do you mean? Have you forgotten all the crazy things they did? Yeah. But then I obey and I write it. And the peace that I feel, it's almost like, so he was basically, it's how, how Pavlov was training his dog. You give him a treat.
Training who?
Sorry.
Pavlov.
Conditioning, classical conditioning. Sorry. When you're trying to get a dog to have good habits, you give them treats.
Yeah.
They do something, you give them a treat.
Yeah.
That's how he was doing it for me, like, you write this apology letter, I will take this heavy thing you're feeling in your heart. You do this, your skin is going to glow, yeah. Because honestly, weed just ages you. I don't know. Have you guys?
No.
All right.
It's okay. I have.
You have?
Yeah.
All right. So that was the first time, and then now January, I'm like, for real. Now I'm going to do it, and then somehow December 31st, I cut all my hair. I shave all my hair, and January 1st now I start the fast for sure, for real, and I do it for 21 days. And in those 21 days, I'm telling you, I don't know where the hunger came to pray. Like just as zeal. Even right now, I'm like, God, where is it? How He just gives you a grace to pray. You wake up at 3, and you're not like, you don't wake up and you snooze and wake up and snooze. No, it's just like rah. And He's there with you. He's like, okay, today we're gonna read this book. You open and it's speaking to you. Also, it was my first time like legit reading the Bible, so everything was just like, wow, everything was slapping different. So I'm praying. He's giving me such a grace. I'm watching sermons. I'm listening to all these things, Christian music. I think there's a verse, James talks about how the fervent prayers of a righteous man availeth much. I don't have evidence for this, but I'm pretty sure when my mom was alive, she was definitely praying for me, And now that she's gone, the Lord is like, okay, I am going to action the prayers of your mom. Wow. All those prayers that she made, they're going to come to fruition, Murugi, And now you can't run from me. You have no job.
Yeah.
You're stuck at home.
Yeah.
You have no friends.
Yeah.
So, and he was doing it. But then, so at the end of the 21 days, porn, weed, and masturbation go. And in those 21 days, I didn't indulge in any of those things, And that was hard, especially because I think day 3 of that fast, I was so broken because the side effects for anyone who's trying to quit either of those things, the first week is going to be crazy because the side effects, because you're so used to getting dopamine from all those things, and generating like artificial dopamine. So when you've taken it all away, it's just you and your brain that is not used to generating dopamine. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel like you don't want, there's no urge to live. Yeah. And that's when I realized that verse that says, a broken and a contrite spirit, He will not deny. It made perfect sense. And that's the best time to really go to Him. Yeah. I finished those 21-day fast. I have never smoked weed, watched porn, or masturbated since then. So basically it went, but I still had same-sex attraction. I remember even in that period after that, because I still had the hunger to pray and to fast. Like I did so many fasts. I was watching a sermon by Lawrence Hoyer, and he was saying, am I speaking too fast, by the way?
You okay?
I'm okay.
Okay, well,
but
you're really like in it.
Inile ukifunga macho ushapotea. But I like it.
Unaweza slow. So I was watching someone by Lawrence Hoyer, and he was saying how sometimes the Lord just gives you a grace. There's a season in your life God is just going to accelerate, akupatie kispeed kingine. You look back and you're like, do it again, my God.
Yeah.
You've experienced that. Yeah. So that was that time. But at the same time, even as I'm praying and I'm singing, I'm watching the sermons, there's a time I was watching one guy called Vlad Savchuk, and he was giving a testimony how one gay couple listened to his sermon, and then they broke up the day after. I'm like, no, that's not for me. And then but at the same time I'm seeking the Lord, but I don't want to even imagine giving this thing up. I remember writing in my journal and basically bargaining with God if I can just keep this thing. This one girl I was talking to, he didn't respond. So it's obviously something that I'm having a hard time letting go of. Yeah. And how the Lord did it for me is it was a very long process. He used my own research, the research topic that I was using to tell these guys to stop being homophobic. He just changed how I was saying the topic. And as he did that, remember the conditioning he was giving me? I obey one thing, he gives me an award.
Yeah.
So basically, he didn't just give me an award for it. He gave me a job through that research. My dream job now. He gave me he allowed me to present it at a global conference, and at the same time, he brought me in the presence of such men. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. So how I ended up giving up this thing is he used a researcher, a former queer theorist, and also a former LGBT. Maybe you've heard about it. Her name is Rosaria Butterfield. So I saw her podcast on YouTube. She had been on a podcast on YouTube. I saw former queer theorist turn whatever, I saw it. I was like, this one is going to perpetuate my spirit. I download it again, but I don't watch it. Then one day I'm like, okay, let me just watch it. And I was washing the dishes. And in listening to that is when it was like the Lord was like, okay, Murugi, now you have to decide. You've seen what I can do. You've seen all this marvelous. You've seen the peace I can give. Now you get to decide whether you can say that you really are a Christian and hold on to this thing, or you can now let go of this thing and now trust that I can do, this incredible things. And one thing that even that lady said is leaving the queer community is one of the most brutal things you can do, because it feels like you have kamba hapa or chains and a wild horse and you're being pulled even separately. It's almost like dying, you're dying when you're still alive. And that night I remember I was like, okay, God, let's do this, and since then now he started teaching me same thing, slowly helping me unlearn all the habits, all the masks. I was a masculine presenting woman, and it felt so comfortable because I was dysphoric. Unlearning all those traits, teaching me how to be a woman. He's still doing that. He has a lot of work to do, but he's doing that. Teaching me how to see other women differently. At that time now is when testimonies like Jackie Perry's now were my lifeline, bro. Because I'm not just any lesbian, I'm a stud. I'm a stud who's trying to live that lifestyle. So her testimony, and when I was queer, I hated her. I did not like her. The same way I don't imagine everyone's going to be a big fan of me. But I know this is necessary work, because when the Lord does the work, they're going to need someone who's going to tell them that feeling you're feeling, you're not dying, my G. He's going to get you out of that madness, So her testimony, I think I scoured all stud testimonies, ex-stud testimonies on YouTube, and slowly he was just holding my hand, and I'm grateful that he gave me the foundation of learning to pray when I was at the beginning of the year. So by the time it's April, May, and he's taking the same-sex attraction, I had a nice foundation of seeking the word and praying, and now we are here.
It's very interesting how you said that you are I don't want to say you are a gay Christian, but you are a gay Christian.
Yeah.
You're still fasting, you're still praying.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah, that the Lord
to think that God can still
yes.
Let's say God, because you wouldn't think God can walk with
a gay.
you.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like your life is the complete opposite of what God.
You're basically an abomination.
Yeah. But God is still taking you.
Yes.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah. I want to ask, was there I wonder, I think, how did it get from umekoka, those weekend challenges, whatever, to now where God is giving you this urge to fast? And how did you, through that journey, know that this is not me, this is not anyone else, this is God speaking throughout now the journey?
I think when the verse that keeps coming to mind is this one that talks about how when you will know it is him, but because of the peace that comes. Yeah. Also, I was when my mom was she was in a very long period of illness, and in those 2 years I was seriously into astrology. Yeah. And it wasn't just ordinary astrology. I somehow ended up being a witch as well. Crazy things.
Murugi.
Wow.
You've lived the life. You've really lived tarot, astrology,
ancestral veneration, all those crazy things. But you know,
ancestral
veneration, basically how people think like their ancestors are speaking to them. You know, now for me, Wangoma Makeri was my one, and I had her picture. You know, that's how people have Ruto's picture on the mine was Wangoma Makeri. One day he came and my mom had taken it down. I was so mad.
Oh, wow.
Now I look back, I was like, that was just demonic anger, Murugi.
Yeah.
You know, it's just there was always candles lit.
wow.
The devil is sneaky, bro. And you can't even think because he comes. The Bible says he masquerades as an angel of light. So you think I'm just cleansing my air, you know.
Yeah.
So I was doing a lot of astrology. And at the same time, because I had a foundation of God, I was trying to see how all this work fits into God, you know. And there's a guy called Kaliang. Kaliang is a psychologist. He's very dead, but he was really working towards figuring out how all these things can come together, marrying them, yeah. And I was obsessed with his work because I was like, this guy has the solution. You know, this church guy that are saying it's witchcraft. You know, don't do tarot. That's just witchcraft. Now we have this other real witches who do black work. But now I'm like, I know there's something in the middle. So I was very, very intent on his work. And there's a video on YouTube that I think I listened to almost 100 times during the time my mom was sick. And it was talking about how Kaliang says that all suffering is a suffering of God. That line held me together, you know, because I'm like, all suffering is a suffering of God. And it's like almost a 7-minute video. It has like 200 views, half of which are mine. But because the work was based on Kaliang, and I was trying to seek God through tarot and Kaliang, I think somehow Kaliang married it together. But then when I was coming to the Lord, you see now, there was already like an urge to like, God, I want to please you.
Yeah.
But these things are offering me such instant. Because tarot, when you do tarot, it's like, this is how your day is going to be. I see the sun. There's a moon, so there might be a bit of a hiccup. But you should do this and you should be well, you know, because as Christians, you know, sometimes God takes time to answer.
It takes time.
It takes time, yeah? Tarot is going to give you an answer today evening.
Wow.
You know?
And were the things happening as
Wow.
yani you'd like kakaka umeka makadi hapo and then that is exactly how your day would go?
Most times, yes, because then that's how people end up even like, it's like sinking sand, you know, because the enemy is going to give you first kidogo hours. You watch in a work, una feel peace, you know. So I ended up watching so many videos. Nilikuwa naamka asubuhi ku refresh YouTube kuna my favorite tarot reader kama ametoa reading. Kama hajatoa niko na stress, you know. I made my own tarot deck as well because I'm like, I'm going to do this by myself.
Yeah.
So I was looking for those answers. Also, it was also a very painful time. But now, somehow, because there was already that hunger for him, when I moved now to this other side, now my mom is gone, I don't know what the leap was, but I think because my heart was already seeking him. I was like, I'm going to seek you here. I'm going to seek you in all the wrong ways with tarot reading and candles. I'm seeking you, you know, show me something. And it was like, I bet I'm going to show you something, you know. So I think because he saw there was a seek ye first.
Yeah.
You know, and for whatever reason, the verse that I got when the Lord was calling me, like the foundational verse was Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and everything. That's the porn, that's the weed, masturbation, all of it going will be added. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Murugi, what was the, first of all, when you told your mom,
Oh.
I feel like I am like this. What was her reaction, number one? And number two, how did like her death impact you? And probably even like your sexual orientation, things like that.
Her reaction, first you've done your research.
Where?
Done your research.
Hey.
Good on you. So she was very. She wasn't like, I'm beating you until this thing goes. She was like, oh, you're going to finish me. Let's look for a therapist. I know she was very, very stressed. You know. But then it didn't come up often, and I thank God for that. And I always say, like, if you have a queer kid, don't let that be the center of all your conversations. You know, unajua nilisikia wewe ni lesbian, you know, kidogo amefukuzwa tena ni lesbian, you know, like una watch TV na wewe, you know,
That's such a Kenyan mom. Like,
Hata washi vyombo.
oh my God.
Don't let that be the center of whatever. They're still your child. As far gone as they are, that's still your baby. There's so many things the Lord can teach you through that. So that was how it went. I remember, like, before she died, I went, one of my friends came for my first sleepover, and she went to say hi to her, and we were holding hands. And then later I was like, oh shoot, we were holding hands in front of my mom, and I know she knew. Yeah. So, and that was like a few days, I think, before she passed. Her death, another thing that came out the other day was like, first, Murugi, did you stop being gay because your mom died? I'm like, if that's the point, I would have stopped when she was still alive, because she was sick for a while.
Yeah.
Kama nikum please ningeacha ndio waone mama unajua sasa niko na boyfriend tulia sasa, it's not even her death, it's how she lived that influenced my life. I was saying yesterday that there's such a grace. It's a beautiful thing to watch a righteous man die. It's a beautiful thing, man. When the Bible says, and I remember one time I was grieving now a few now and then, I'm seriously like with the Lord. Yeah. He woke me up at like 2 a.m. after a whole night of me asking him why. Yeah. He wakes me up and tells me to read Psalm 116. And there's a verse that says that precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his faithful servants.
Wow.
I was like, there's no way I would have woken myself up to read that specific verse.
Yes,
Legit the Lord, yeah?
Wow.
And it makes perfect sense, because then you can see how, let me say, there's a time she was very, like, alikuwa mgonjwa, like, she was towards the end of life. You can barely do anything for yourself. You're basically a kid again. So they have to be washed and all these things. So one time, the caregiver is doing the work, sisi tume burn out ka mchanga ka makuni. Yeah. The caregiver is doing the good work, is showering, they're showering, and I'm like, mama nataka nikuchezea wimbo gani? Anasema unaona ile wimbo ya all my life you have been faithful,
goodness of God.
Yeah. And I'm like, now immediately I just played it and I was like, bet, I went to do my own things, probably smoke a blunt. Then a few months later I'm like, that shorty was dying. She had lost everything, even her ability to even talk, because she was moving into like consciousness in and out. Yeah. And she's like, that song you want to sing is that one?
Yeah.
That's just a whole other thing. Another thing that comes up is like, I think a few minutes before she died, I was there at like to the very end. She says, I feel a leading in my heart to say, to recite Psalm 21, and for whatever reason, that's the only Psalm I'd memorized, because I memorized it in high school. I think we had like a marathon thing. And I don't recite it myself, but I play it on YouTube, Then a few months later again, when the Lord is doing the good work in me, I read it, and it makes perfect sense why I felt the leading. Because the final verse says something like, he will watch over your going out and your coming in. He will preserve your soul. He will watch over your going out and your coming in. Then it just clicks again. That the Lord was legit asking me to pray over her soul, over her. Even when because at that time I was like crazy in the world, So small moments like that. And then even seeing how she lived her life. All of those just drew me nearer and nearer. The Lord I knew she was going to go because a few other things had happened. But basically, it's not even her death. It's just how she died. Not that like, oh, she's gone now. Yeah. Grief. It was like the life she lived, the leading towards her death. And how God was just moving mad that time. That was like, hey, legit. I think there's a God out here, man. Like, wow. I know he's legit. And yeah. And he showed up after. I don't know if they had a deal with her or something like that. But I asked him, like, why was that the order of events? Why did she have to go? And then Murugi changes. Yeah. And I was like, my ways are not your ways, my dear.
Yeah, that's actually
calm down.
The verse that when I was just listening to you speak, I've remembered. I think it's in Isaiah 54. I'm not sure, but I know it's in Isaiah, when God says, my ways are not my ways, neither are my thoughts your thoughts. Because there's so many things in my mind are just to be like, no, God can't work like that. As in, God can't work. God can't. But in reality, he is sovereign. Like he's just a sovereign God. Wow. Crazy.
Wow. I think one thing that is very eminent as well is just like God's love through your mom's journey. I don't know if it makes sense to say, but I'm just like, wow, I can't wait to get to that point where I'm just like, I'm okay with, be it someone in my life passing away, and just that comfort. Like at that moment, it would look like that.
Yes.
But wow, I'm just like, truly God loves us. Wow.
Yeah.
It does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you, because you've said now God is taking you through this journey of now understanding why that had to happen.
Yeah.
But in that moment, okay, so your mom passes away, and then now after you begin like now seeking God, was there like a point of like anger? Okay, like God, like why are you here drawing me to yourself? And you literally took my mom away. Was there like those resentment?
Yeah. That day when he woke me up at to read Psalm 116, I know that night I was, how you're banging on your bed and you're like, God, why? There was that. But before she died, there's a time I was walking around in town. I came across a book called, I think, Morning Song. Moon. And I read through that book. I think I was standing there. I was waiting for my partner to come. I was standing and I read the book. It was about this lady who had cancer. And it read like my mom's story to the T. So I remember flipping through the pages quickly to see if she dies in the end. And she does.
Wow.
I was like, oh. I was hoping she was going to live. Because the book was very based on the Bible and Christianity and stuff. I was like, maybe the Lord is going to pull her out of this. It read so well that, before you die, there's always like this a surge of energy, like right before you die.
Yeah.
So even that, I was like, oh, she's getting better again.
Yeah.
Oh, she's walking. Oh, she's going bad. Oh, she's dead.
Yeah.
So I think me seeing that book beforehand, I bought it immediately, of course, and I was reading it even when she was still alive, and I told my sister to read it because it really helped me even through like caregiver burnout. It depicts even all the stages of burnout for the husband, for the siblings, because caregiving is brutal, So I think that book helped me prepare my head for all that will happen, even towards her death, I mean, God just is beautiful in how he works. When he says my ways are not like your ways, in hindsight, I think there's no other way he would have helped me be comfortable, be okay with it, because I know there are people who loved my mom and she was very loved, who are very, very hit by her death, but I had the privilege of watching it happen and like seeing it and the Lord being there. And I'm like, yeah, I know there's this guy called Tim Keller, when he died, the son said something like, my father's faith has not become sight, and we know that when we die, it's not just the end, If anything, life after death is infinitely better than this world.
That's true.
So when I know that she's on that other side, as much as I am sad that she's not here with me on Sunday mornings or when good things happen, I know that she has received her reward. The best that we can do now is to prepare that we do not miss the mark. And I know it's crazy out here. This world is crazy, that we hold on to this faith. The verse that gives me comfort is verses like, since we are now surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, stuff like that just keeps the barabara straight.
Okay. Murugi, when was your first introduction to pornography? Pornography. Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Pornography and masturbation.
I don't remember when, but I remember there's a family friend who's now a pastor. Praise the
God.
Lord. Praise the Lord. The Lord does everything, man.
Thank you, Jesus.
So he came with a CD, going to a shack, akaieka. I remember the very first scene I saw. I remember what was happening in that room. And that was the first time I saw just naked people doing mad things on the screen, Then after that, I don't know what happened after that, but no. Sijui your CD ilienda wapi, we were talking Juicy about how when we were introduced to porn, and someone said kuna time they had the CD, alafu stima zikapotea. What do you do? Like umeweka CD, your mom might come back. Exactly. Do you break it? What do you do? So luckily, zikuenda. So I think he went back with the CD. A while later, I remember now watching it on a relative's phone, and going to hide on the upper deck ya juu, nimejificha nikiwatch. Then I guess that's how the seed was planted, Now, for real, now on my own volition, I think after Form 4, now Form 4 is not the first time with the masturbation. Yeah. So, and then you realize that these two can go together very well. It's crazy. And yeah, slowly it got into like a serious addiction. I remember trying very many times when in uni to like stop this thing. You know what a crazy thing is? I had a friend who was very prophetic. I don't even know what happened to her. I pray she's still doing very well, you know. And she was like, you know, I see someone seated on a seat, just like masturbating. You know, and I was in Form 4, and Form 4 was like, I'm going to wait until I'm married. You know, so I was at the back of my head. I was like, I think I know who it is. You know,
Can never be me.
Can never be me. But I know who you're talking about. You know, I think she was telling me that because she was like, Murugi, I see you doing these things, but she didn't want to tell. So she was like, I see someone.
Yeah.
You know, her name was Joyce. I hope she's doing well, man. It turns out that was very prophetic.
Yeah.
You know, and somehow it ended up being a very serious addiction. I tried to quit many times. As many people who are addicted to these things try. You know, you realize, hey, and this thing is bad, especially for men, because with men, it's the side effects are much, much more vivid than for women. You know, for men, there's basically even balding. You know, there's like a lethargy, deep lethargy.
Balding?
Yeah. Balding, yeah. Like
Really?
balding. Because all the testosterone we could have is just being misused. You're overproducing. Your body needs time to produce enough sperm. It needs so much energy to produce even the littlest sperm. So if it's being expelled all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope this is not PG.
No.
To talk about these things all the time.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, but for women, just a lot of dopamine production messes up with your head, concentration. Apparently, you can go mad. Like you just get into that state of highness and stay there. You know. But yeah, so I tried to quit a lot of times. And one time I remember I wrote in my journal, I failed again. I tried to quit so many times I gave it a code name on my journal. So like today I spinaliumed again, you know, but I know this thing is going to be used to help millions.
Are you born again at this point?
Nilikuwa najua God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think born again tunaweza sema it happened October last year.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
But even the fact that I was saying it's going to be used to help millions,
Hey,
at that time I was like, hey, Murugi, are you prophetic or what?
Hey.
You know? So and here we are. I know I tried a lot, so for the Lord to take it. But that wasn't even the battle. The battle was weed.
You can talk about that.
I tried that one ikakata mara mingi. So when I was going to God, I had such negative side effects.
Okay.
You know, like constant, like with weed, it's constantly irritating your lungs. So you need to and your lungs are going to self-clean themselves. So they are producing like all the phlegm and the mucus that is being has to be like, so I was constantly hacking phlegm, you know. My face, remember the time I quit weed and my face was glowing? Yeah, it went back. I went back to not glowing, you know, and I'm like, hey, my God, this thing is aging me. Yeah, and like, please take it away. And it was a hard time to even quit on my own. So for him to take that one away, I was like, hey, God, you're powerful, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey. Like I'm learning a lot.
And it's interesting how like, okay, so there's the pornography, there's the masturbation, there's the weed, there's the astrology, there's like tarot.
Like it's like a whole door.
Yeah, and you'd think that the devil would be like, okay, now Murugi like uko sawa sasa. But it's like
the enemy, this one who hates you, he will suck. Even the thing with all this astrology stuff is like sinking sand. It just draws you in kidogo. One thing stops to work, then you get into the other. Even weed, I ended up even doing stuff like psychedelics. You know, weed is a gateway drug, by the way. Whoever says it's a myth is a liar.
Yeah.
Weed is going to introduce you to every drug on this planet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay.
Praise God.
I'm sure Natalie is learning so many things she didn't know before.
Astrology,
astrology, tarot.
I used to think it was tarot. It's tarot.
Tarot.
Like very fancy. Okay. So are there moments that after like you said you went through the 21 day of fasting? Okay, I think you've mentioned that it like ended everything except the same sex attraction.
Yeah,
everything else was
it just ended,
cut off.
Yeah. So when people ask me, Murugi, how did you do it? I'm like, bro, me, I just fasted.
Yeah,
but I know it's not gonna work because I know people who do 7 days dry fasting, but the 8th day they fall.
Oh,
that's just brutal.
So it was just like your path. It was just the path that God had you go through. Okay. So can you talk about the church, like the role that we as a church can play? Because me, in my mind, I'm just like, Yani, I feel like there are moments I can dismiss someone and think, I no, like
this one is too far
gone.
gone.
You're done. Yeah, maybe you can talk about like us as a church. What are things that we should do to help? And I checked your Instagram, and you said when God calls us to love, it's not love this one, but then end it here. Like even to the queer community, love them. Everybody who's struggling, love them. So maybe where do you feel like sometimes as Christians we may have gone wrong, and what can we do?
I get that question so many times. I don't even I'm an authority yet to like
From
speak
your
on this, from my perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess this whole, you see how you said that when I was gay and the Lord was still revealing himself to me, you'd imagine that's not possible.
Yeah.
There are Christians there are queer people who are Christian and have these encounters with God.
Wow.
There are people who are legit, like the group that I have. I remember the very first meeting we had, I was like, this story was like, okay, Murugi, I've been praying, and the Lord is so good, all these things are happening, but I don't know how to break up with my girlfriend. So she's still struggling with this thing, but the Lord is still faithful. This God is not limited by our weaknesses.
Yeah.
If he was, I don't know if we'd be around. You
Yeah.
know? How David says, like, if it were not for the Lord, if it was not for his mercy, we would have been crushed. So to understand that even in the pits of all this darkness, David says beautiful in Psalm 139, if I go to the depths of the sea, if I make my bed in the depths, even then you're there. So it is possible that people who've made their beds there are encountering the Lord.
Yeah.
We
Wow.
cannot rule it out just being us who go to church and sing and experiencing that.
Yeah.
It's just for us. No, he's God of all.
Yeah.
So to understand that can happen. Yeah. So when we see stuff, and even I need to learn this, I was saying, Juicy, that I was convicted seriously when I was watching Akina Jackie Hill Perry and Rosario Butterfield, those ex-gays, when they talk about the queer community, there was such a militant just attitude they had. And I remember when I was watching, I was like, God, don't let me get there. Don't let me forget how brutal this process was. Yeah. So I watched my videos back and I'm like, Murugi, you've forgotten. I've started to like practically just militarize this word, So it's about us being humble.
Yeah.
Whether you have been in the mud, whether you were born and the people who've not had a secular phase, bless the Lord for that.
Yeah.
Whether you've been there or not, you just being humble and know that you are not saved because you're good.
Yeah.
It's purely because of his mercy.
Yeah.
That we are not consumed, and it's his grace. Yeah. In the issues like we have a gay church in Kenya,
Serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you know?
I feel like I knew that.
You did, yeah. I feel
Really?
Yeah. So
I didn't know.
And I remember there was a video of them praising, and you can see just gay men, flamboyant men. You can tell it's a gay men. So someone made a video reaction to it. I was like, we cannot let these things happen. I'm like, as who? Like, are they praising us? Let the Lord find them in there.
Wow.
Let the Lord find them there.
Yeah.
And for those, even if you've had that reaction, it's okay. You just go to the Lord and like, Lord, I didn't know better.
Yes.
It was in my ignorance. Please have mercy.
Yeah.
Help me see them as you see them. That's a prayer I'd like everyone to pray. Even I sometimes forget. Help me see them as you see them. Because I know sometimes they can be so... in my comment sections, they get crazy. They can be very angry and they're like, oh, you're being homophobic. Oh, this God, he's so concerned with me and he let kids die of cancer and kids in Palestine and everything. Like, just ask God, let me see the way you see them. Let me see them like that, So now that's like in general, you pray for them. The fervent prayers of a righteous man availeth much. You have to be a good light. If you're called to be the light of the world, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot comprehend, there has to be a difference between the light and you.
That's true.
The darkness and you. Yeah. So that means now doing the work in yourself, crucifying your flesh. If basically what God called us to do. So we can't go point them out. Oh, you're a sinner, and you're falling on your own, stuff.
That's true.
Yeah. What else? Something had come to my head. For those who are called now to be like, now they're seriously in your circle, like you meet them every day. The Lord has burdened your heart with them. Now that's now calling you to a now different level of study. There's a guy called Ernest Wamboya.
Yeah.
He's written up, Ernest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you smiling like that?
Maybe we'll tell you after.
Okay.
Maybe we shouldn't say it now on the podcast, but we'll tell you.
Is he coming on the podcast?
Yeah.
Yes, he's going to be the best person to like address that, because the Lord has put him in contact with guys who've done. You've seen his book?
Yeah. So he has
Unmasking.
Yeah.
I have it there. So that's a beautiful book to read. If the Lord is calling you, like drawing you into those deep wells, you need to do your study. You need to understand all the craziness, and also to assess yourself. So when you're going there, you're not going there with like biases.
Oh yeah.
And that's something He's taught me to do even myself constantly. Our heart, maybe I'm wicked. The Bible says our hearts are what? Deeply
wicked.
Desperately wicked. So to do the work, so to ensure that tukienda huko hatuendi na finyo. When I'm making a video, I'm not making it with finyo.
Yeah.
To
attack.
For the parents, now that's a whole different ballgame, because parenting a queer child is, I said when my mom died in the in the eulogy, I said that God gives the toughest parents, the toughest kids to the strongest parents, and one thing I know is that even if it looks like a craziest thing, there's legit something the Lord wants you to learn from that. Whether about Him, whether about yourself, about your kid, about love. Christ says to love not just your friends, your enemies, and sometimes your kid is legit going to look like your enemy. Yeah. Especially when they're like flaunting it in your face. But that's always a call to like come deeper into His presence, to understand that child is still the one you gave birth to. There might be different forces at work, but still your baby girl. Maybe to not. And that's also now part about us rethinking how we see people who we don't like, to not see them as your enemy. And your idea imekuja na ikaenda. Acha niname ipite. Imepita. But not this whole Kenyan attitude of I'll beat the gay out of you. We cannot be homophobic as Christians. At least homophobic to how it says like hating the gay community. We cannot. If we've been called to love, regardless, whether it's a cocaine addict, whether it's like a stripper, we've been called to love. So it cannot be synonymous with Christians to do that. Let them call us out for being firm. Let them call us out for not using pronouns. Let them call us out for not, because even that, for using pronouns is not hate. It's like the Lord created you a man. You might think you're a woman, but He created you a man. I will not lie to you. And that kind of truth has freed people. There are people who've been dysphoric. They say, Mom, I'm trans. But the mother was like, no, you're my son, you're my son, you're my son. Because of that, they were not lied to at the right time. Who will they trust? The one who said true, you see? So it might be hard to like not, you might want to affirm, but you have to remember that love is true. Love is true. You have to stay to the truth. But don't hate.
As you're speaking, I've also remembered that, so you see, like, with the LGBTQ community, I don't know how true this is, but it's no different from somebody struggling with lust. Like, it's so easy for me as a straight woman struggling with lust to be like, you're worse than me. And I think that's usually like the language. You feel like you're better because you're not attracted to the same sex person. Same sex person. You're not
same gender.
But I was reading Romans, and in the beginning, I think in chapter 3, it talks about like, so it's with the Jews and the Gentiles. So the Jews thought they were better because like they thought they were better, but Paul was telling them, no, you, like I'm just going to paraphrase it. You also need salvation. Just because you are God's chosen does not make you any better than the Gentiles. Actually, you're even at a worse place because God gave you the law. God gave you like your anyway. I feel like
you're going to be held to a higher standard.
I feel like sometimes we want to. You see the log, the what is that verse that says? You see the speck in your brother's eye, but your eye has a whole log. Anyway, that's so beautiful.
I think you've talked about it, but same as Sister Sisi as the church, like what, or rather, where is the balance between, like, we're not trying to be soft towards, maybe if I have a friend who's gay or, so I'm not trying to be soft. I want to be firm in my no, but also loving, like, and for you, because you work with a lot of like queer people, just people who want to now be brought now into the light. So like, how do you deal with that? For example, with this TikTok that you've said about where people have a whole church that is gay. So is it like, like for that now, is it that tume slack in terms that wamefika point they even have a church? Or are we just let them have their own journey with God and figure it out?
Even for that church, I'd look at it in two different groups there, because we have the congregation who are seeking God. They don't find it comfortable in normal churches because we as churches are having a hard time seeing them as God sees them, right? So they go there where they feel safer. But then the beauty is there are churches in Nairobi that are getting open to this, like we're not going to affirm you, but come. God amesema come, But now we have the leaders of those churches. Now, if you see how, as much as we have to say that you cannot be a gay Christian, you can seek the Lord. Like, if you can be a gay Christian, it won't be for a long time. Because if you're legit a Christian, the Lord is going to do the good work in you. And very soon you're going to have a testimony. See how David said, Paul says in 1 Corinthians, and such were some of you. It's been happening for years. You come to Christ, you're going to say like, I was this and this and this, but now the Lord has done this. But now we have this new doctrine. It's not even a new doctrine that is talking about how God is affirming the queer community, how it's okay, how we even have like queer pastors. Even in that church, we have a queer pastor. My heart has a hard time with that, because that's legit from the enemy. That's a doctrine of demons. I know these guys are seeking the Lord and he will be found. But if they end up on that side, there's a God-shaped hole in all of us. They might be seeking God, but then they find this God who is okay with them staying in their sin. We, even the ones who come to me, I'm like, this thing is a sin. I know it feels so part of you, you cannot even imagine it. But the Lord made you very differently. He has a different plan for you. This thing is a sin. The churches, now those churches might not tell them that. They're saying it's okay to do this. Those leaders, I'm also working on that, because now I really need to see them as God does, so that even if I'm going to like reach out, I'm not reaching out to be like you how David says, how Paul says, why am I saying David? Paul says like, let them be anathema, those who preach a gospel that is separate, but also to pray for them that they come to the realization of this gospel, because the judgment for them is going to be harsh. They're teachers, they've been held to a very high standard, and if they're legit leading people, they're just buttering them up for a nice roast in hell, their judgment is going to be on a whole other level. So the balance between praying for them to come to Christ, the balance between you being firm enough to tell them the doctrine you're preaching is a doctrine of demons by G. That even sounds wrong to say, like you're preaching demonic things and you're a whole pastor. God, But then that all comes from like asking the Lord to make us like him, because he was able to do that. But you see, even they thought he himself had demons. It's crazy. It's quite the balance. I don't think I've figured it out. Ernest, please write those questions.
I will be sure to ask.
Yes. Yeah.
So now, how did it go from you now being delivered and you now seeking God to now this translating into your ministry, so that now you're working with people who are trying to get out of all these things? Like, how did that journey come about?
So when the Lord was calling me, I said, leaving the queer community is hard. So even when they start their own church and when they come to this God who's okay with them, I know it's because they've wrestled for so long. Some fall off, like 40% go become atheist. That's why New Age and all this tarot work is so rampant in the queer community. But now some get to this God who's okay with me being gay. So when the Lord was doing that, I was almost getting into this God who's okay with me being gay. I remember asking him, God, do you want me to be a preacher? I'll be a preacher. Because now he's called me, he's taken the pawn and the weed. I've seen marvelous things. I can preach your word, my Lord. I'm going to be a gay. So I wanted to reach out to that queer church and be like, guys, I'd like to come and minister, nini. But he was like, no, that's not it. We are not done with this work yet. So I stay in his presence. He gives me that fork in the road, that video. Like, do you want to stay with me and claim that you know this God who's okay? Or are you going to let go of this same sex, this thing that has burdened you? I go through the process. He continues to do the work in me to reshape how I think about myself. And at the same time now, I feel such a strong conviction that I'm going to have to share this testimony, you know. And immediately I feel it, and I'm scared because I'm like this. I know how these queer people get. I've seen how they react to Jackie and Perry, and anyone who dares leave or speak against. So, I'm panicking. But then slowly he gives me confidence. Yeah, that's why I'm able to like Murugi Firebrand. Yeah, you know, it's purely the Lord. Yeah. But also sometimes you see God anafanyanga vitu zingine hadi wezi nyamaza. You know?
Okay, true.
Just his works just fuel you. And then I post my video on. He started telling me to post my video such a long time ago, man. I'm like, Murugi, buy equipment. I'm like, no, Murugi, buy equipment. So I graduate. I get a good, graduation pass. I'm like, yeah, I should buy equipment. Murugi didn't buy equipment, So, but then a few days later, after my graduation, now on 30th, when I posted that video, it was my first anniversary, just being weed free. I was feeling depressed. I was in my room. I was feeling sad. I don't know why. There's this whole rumor. I don't know if you guys have heard it, even outside of this topic, how some people can like cast you through money. You know how people come to your graduation, they give you money.
But then we should talk about that after this whole nini tukianza kurekodi nini.
Yeah. Like someone just gives you a 50 bob and just like, So I shook something like that happened, bro. So anyway, we had like a big TV at home. I leave, I come to Nairobi. I'm in my bed, I'm depressed. I have all this money from the graduation. I'm like, what is this? And I look at the date. I'm like, 30th? It's been a whole year, bro. So I go upstairs and I make the video. That thing goes viral. You see, then people are reaching out to me like, how did you do this? How did you do this? How did you do this? And then I start to make videos after videos, and then I'm like, oh shoot, I need equipment. When I had money, I didn't buy equipment. Now I have to use my own salary. I'm like, oh man, So eventually I keep making videos. The Lord gives me words. Like there's one video I know that legit, 2 videos that the Lord woke me up. I think I was in bed. And I was just like, zing, camera, and every time I make such videos, they just go off. Like the one that porn is demonic, because legit is demonic. So the more I do that, the more people are drawn to my ministry. They come to my DMs, they're like, Murugi, I'm struggling with ABCD. Murugi, I feel like you're the one I can talk to. I feel comfortable talking to you. I get such crazy DMs, my guy. Wow. So I'm like, hey Lord, these people need you. And because they know they've seen you, and like, how do I help these people? So somehow we open our WhatsApp page, because all these guys are like, Murugi, here's my number. We open our WhatsApp group in a jar. We open another one in a jar. We open another one in a jar. So eventually we right now we have this big thing. But then you see, all Murugi has is a testimony.
Yeah.
Mimi sina manual.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to get from A to C. Like legit, my mom died. I fasted. The Lord delivered. Like I don't want your mom to die, so you can do this. But I don't know the ins and outs, even for the queer community, because a lot of them are reaching out to me. But so far, what we have now is the group. We have meetings weekly. We have guys who are being freed. Like I'm telling you, we have no program, nothing that is like we can write down. But we have guys who are saying that because they can come there and kind of like, guys, I feel like relapsing today, and someone calls them. Guys, I feel like I'm going to do this. Someone like reaches out. We have guys who are reaching like 90 days. We have guys who, for the first time in like 9 years, have been 2 weeks clean. That's a win. And even when they relapse, they're there. I thank God for Ernest Wamboye. Man, I'm telling you, by the time I was meeting Ernest, I was on my knees to God. I'm like, God, this ministry is growing beyond my capacity. I do not have the end. I don't know what to do, And he was like, I've sent you the Holy Spirit. And he was like, no, God, I want a human being. Yeah. That's so offensive to the Holy Spirit.
The Spirit was just like,
I know.
Girl.
Wow.
That may not be enough.
So, and then I saw Ernest's video. First of all, I was telling now the guys I was doing an apologetics course. You guys should probably do it. It's by Apologetics Kenya. I'm shamelessly plugging them. Okay. And I was telling those guys I'm running this ministry, and I was like, that's a big ministry. But I know a guy called Ernest. I talked to someone else like, I know a guy called Ernest.
Wow.
I'm like, Ernest. I was like, God introduced me to Ernest. That's a legit. I'm like, God, please introduce me to him. So because now my social skills, I don't even have the capacity to be like, hi, I really need help, please.
Yeah.
But also being like composed, like, I'm doing a ministry. The Lord is moving. So I see Ernest's video about the Mandamano, and then I reach out to him. So I went overboard, like the God introduced me and I introduced myself. I was like, Murugi, I've heard about you. He said like twice, I've heard about you here and I've heard about you here. I was like, oh wow, the Lord actually introduced me. And now he's able to work with me through this ministry. He's done it for years. He's written books about it. So if we are studying his book right now in the group. The beautiful thing is he's also done LGBT ministry. So God came and like clutch answered those questions. We're still trying to figure it out, We're still, even our salvation, my salvation, na perpetual. I don't know if you guys experience it. If there's anything about ministry that just rattles me, it's the warfare that comes with it.
Jesus. Man. You don't have to tell me twice.
Man. I don't know. I can't wait to go to heaven. Just get me out. Sometimes I'm like, Lord, take me out.
Get the cameras.
There's a time 1 Kings 19 becomes like your go-to. If you've read 1 Kings 19 more than once in a week, maybe you need therapy. I don't know. So the warfare is still there. We're still working out our salvation, trying to figure out like life outside, trying to figure out how to be a woman, trying to learn how to lay my edges. God, I don't want to cry, but it's so hard.
Some of us are still figuring that out. So I think you're safe.
And dressing. Oh my God, and then. The more it happens, people keep calling me, and I'm like, God, people keep putting microphones in my face. No, like no.
Welcome to the podcast.
And I'm like, I don't know what to tell them, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell them. I can just share my testimony and the fun little things I've learned about you, but missing my revelations. I have them here and there. But I have a friend who goes to this big church in Nairobi. How revelations are so common. They even call it reve. Revelations are reve.
Standard procedure.
I know, right? It's like the order of the day. I'm like, God, I don't have anything else. I'm like, just go with what I have, and then you move through me. And that's where we are right now, trying to figure out the salvation, trying to draw people to Christ. But I know, and I thank Him that even in my confusion, my not knowing left from right, He's still drawing people to Him. He's still convicting people of their sin. Just people like, Murugi, I saw your video and then Nikacha bangi yoseko. I'm like, voila, I didn't even do a thing. Bless the Lord. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. I wanted to conclude.
Okay.
As I ask, like, what your... Maybe a takeaway I can start. I think from this video, unless maybe you had a question that is not related to the end.
No, it was a comment. The first time I saw you actually was that video that you're saying you're 300 like 1 year. It's been 1 year. So if you quit right now, and I was like, actually like took your advice, but with something different. And what I wanted to say actually was that
Lord.
Like just seeing your life from that video, because now after that I was like, okay, let me just see. Let me just see. And for me now, because now I was a Christian, but I didn't. Like I was just, they're not really in my life. They don't really disturb how I live my life. So it's okay for me to not have an opinion. But then here comes Murugi on TikTok. She's there saying, pornography is demonic. The next video is, oh my God, guys, this is my first time dressing as Sidri Water in a dress. And I was just like, God, like, okay, what is going on with this person? But now seeing how all this has just brought you to where you are and to where you're going. Like God is just, I'm just like, wow, God, like I really, really see the work that God is doing in your life. And I think that is what I wanted to say, that every single, from that first TikTok and even through the comments, Nani, kuna watu, of course, there are going to be those keyboard warriors and everything, but seeing even through the comments, I usually just check and I'm like, okay, like you really just see by the way people are usually getting delivered, if I may say. And it just, I think for me, it just speaks to how it's not you, like it's not me. If I was to do something that God has called me to do, it's not going to be me. It's not about how ready I am, or because even how you're saying that you don't have revelations. But me, since you started speaking, I'm just like, girl, amesoma Biblia. Like you have such a deep understanding and you're quite rich in the word of God. So for you who is seeing that I don't feel like I'm ready, for someone who is looking at you, I'm just like, wow, God, and you really did the work here. And it's amazing to see, because God wouldn't send you somewhere unprepared. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes. Like Moses, it makes perfect sense, because I was thinking back to how, like, when the Lord was calling Moses, he ensured that Moses had stayed and seen the things happening, and it grieved his spirit. The Lord said, I have seen how these guys are suffering. And that Moses had seen it before and ended up killing a guy because of it. And the Lord was like, yeah, me and you, same was up. You know, I've taken it. You've seen it. You've not lived it, which was, I can't imagine how it was for Moses. Have you watched the series on YouTube called The Chosen? People, no, not The Chosen.
The
Promised
parent.
Land.
The funny one.
You should watch it. Yeah. So, like, somehow the Lord, he sees what you see, you know, because even when I was in the queer community, I was seeing a lot of oppression there. Yeah. But normally I was seeing oppression on people. Now on this side, I'm like, this is like pure demonic, man. This is the enemy on the people. Yeah. So I guess he saw it, and now we see together, you know.
Wow, it's so beautiful. Such a beautiful journey.
Yeah. First of all, we're so grateful that you gave us your time.
Yeah.
I can't wait to edit this video and just watch everything again. So thank you, Murugi, for giving us your time. My biggest takeaway from this conversation is, number one, like, God, the way sometimes I feel like as human beings, we might be, I know God. Like, I know
how he can
move. How
move.
he works. Yes. I know this is not how he works, so you're out of it. And of course, there's truth to it, but then it's not in its entirety. Like, God is sovereign, and to just see how God is patient with people. Number one, I was just like, I need to learn how to also extend that patience to myself.
Yes.
Because that's when you are just speaking, I was introspecting, and I'm like, I feel like I want to be at a certain place because I feel like God is angry at me. You're not here. I want you to be here. But hearing your testimony, I'm just like, okay, wow, God, you're patient. You're actually patient with me. And also, I can't be you. God is not there. God is not there. God is not there. I can't be the one pointing that finger, because I don't know the ways. I can't say, I know this is how God works 1000%. So thank you so much for giving us your time. Maybe Wachera can share your takeaway, and then even you can give us like your last remarks or something, and then
Final
you end
words
with a word of prayer for us.
Okay.
My takeaway, I think, has been just seeing how, like, God's love is not like limited to me. And you see how you were saying that it's easier for me to be like, but I'm not gay, but I'm not like, I feel like I'm one of those people, sorry to say, who has been like, but at least I'm not dealing with that. But at the same, like, we're at the same level, sort of like we're at the same level. You're dealing with this, I'm dealing with this. Atakama me, I'm dealing with lying. It's still something that I am dealing with. So to look at it from that perspective, I think for me is a game changer towards even how I'm going to treat, approach, and even just talk to people that are in the queer community. Yeah.
My takeaway?
Yeah.
I'd say for at least what I'm feeling led to talk about is people who are struggling with same-sex attraction, you know, and because I know there's a hunger for God and the Lord is calling you, or you are with the Lord and somehow you stepped. I'd like to say first to read Psalm 139. I've been reading it, and man, it's just, I was thinking the other day, for David to write every single line of that had to be a different revelation after another one. Like when he says something like, before a word is ever on my tongue, you know it. Did he like, okay, God, I'm going to say a word, dinosaur. Did you know that word? You know, like, I want you to understand that this God is not how you've been taught. Maybe you've been taught a God who's just vehement, this God of this mad, angry master that you have to appease with everything you do. But I know you've heard my story. If not, I hope you've heard it and you've learned from it. But this God that I have experienced, a very gentle God. He's a God who walks with you. He's a God who knows that you're same-sex attracted. He knows, same-sex attracted. He knows that you have these desires. You've had them for as long as you can. You cannot imagine your life outside of them, right? But he's saying you just come as you are. Okay? He's saying that not because he wants to like come and completely take you in as you are and keep you like that. It's very unlike him to do that. You know, if you read the Bible, and I would advise to do that, the Bible says how we as humans have been sinful since birth. David says in Psalm 51, we were sinners even before conception. You know, what might feel natural to you might not be how God wants you to live. What feels like second nature to you might be the opposite of God's will for you, right? But first, I want you to understand this God first who loves you, this God who is so gentle with you, and this God who will take you in as you are, as long as you're willing to surrender. You cannot have your will and the Lord's will, you know? So you come to him and say, Murugi told me to come to you. So I'm coming to you. I'm going to let this thing go. I cannot even imagine it. I know, God, you feel my pain, you know? You teach me how you want me to walk this path, right? But at the same time, we have this gentle God. That God is also our fire, right? And at the very end, he will come and he will judge the living and the dead, right? I would hate for you to hold on to something that feels natural, but is going to lead you to eternal hell, you know, to a life of damnation away from him, you know? One thing I learned is just allow yourself to suffer a little, yeah? And the beauty about it is the Lord doesn't make us suffer for nothing. You know, even the discipline that we get, it is not for naught. You will see the fruits of that eventually. Yeah. So trust that this God is going to take you in, number one. Number two, he knows exactly what is necessary for you. Number three, he will lead you to the people that you need to take you this journey, and will give you comfort in the process. I know it's a brutal process. I know it's a maddening process. I have lived through it. But I have seen the goodness of God eventually. Like Isaiah says that we will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor, right? But if you hold on to your own will that may lead you to damnation, it's very unlikely you're going to see that in this life, right? So just take a chance on him, yeah? Take a chance. Just go to him and like, God, I don't believe, I've had. Help me. That's all he needs. That's all he needs. He just needs a yes from you, all right? And then he'll come and do the amazing work. I wish you all the best. And we can pray.
Yeah.
Let's pray. All right. Lord, I thank you for today. I thank you for yet another microphone on my face. I thank you, my Father, because of the kings and the nations that are going to hear this, the ones that are coming to the dawn of my raising. I pray that whoever is going to be touched by this podcast, my Father, is going to be convicted of their sin. I thank you, my Father, because you're going to do it in that gentle way. I have seen you move gently. I have seen you touch lives. I have seen you touch my own. I have seen you take men from porn that has been a slave for years. They've been slaves to that for years. And you came, my Lord, and you rescued them. I thank you, my Father, because you do not do this because we are good people. You do this because you're a merciful God. You're abounding in love, my Father. You're a compassionate God. I thank you, my Father, because you're going to do it. You're going to do it in our time, my Father. And even in the process, you're going to give us comfort. You're going to give us reveils. You're going to give us people. You're going to give us friends who are going to walk in this journey with us, my Lord. I thank you for this podcast, for the good work that they're doing. I think that they're great stewards of this commission that they have, and I pray that you're going to continue to take them to the next levels and next levels, my Lord. For everyone else who's going to listen to this, that is going to be convicted, throw them to the right church, my Father. Even for the camera guy, pray that you may bless him as well. And all the guests that are going to come here, and the ones who are going to, as they continue to grow and grow and grow, I pray that you may grow as you see it. We bless your name and we worship you, my Father. We love you, and it is an honor to serve you. Thank you, my Lord. In Jesus' name I pray, believing and trusting. Amen.
Amen.